We're going to be discussing with Mike Alao. He's a banker and he's also an economist, and we're going to be talking about trade and commerce in Nigeria. We're looking at from the past 1 year, from last year to this year, the journey has been so far, how businesses have been able to fare under this administration with everything that has been going on. And my guest to discuss these issues with me is Mike Onimisi, or rather Mike Alao. He's a banker and he's also an economist. So he's joining us virtually this morning. So welcome to Market Insights, Mike Alao.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Nigerians. Thank you for having me.
Good morning to you also. It's great to have you on the program. So we're looking at how also in addition to this the sector, now how have different sectors like our trade and commerce sector, how have they fared in the past 1 year? And are there any emerging trends to watch? Let's start with how this sector has fared over the past 1 year.
Thank you very much once again for the privilege of coming into Market Insight today. And we'll be talking about the overview of the trade and commerce in the last 1 year, from May 2023 to May 2024. How it has fared, or if there are challenges, there are success stories, and all that. So I'll be discussing on that particular one this morning. Yes, trade. The impact of trade in Nigeria in the last 1 year has actually, is characterized with a lot of development, challenges, and resilience. The country has actually gone through a lot of challenges and all of that, especially coming from the impact of COVID-19, fluctuation in FX, policy around export and import businesses, and all of that. So, and I would say that a lot of challenges has actually come, and a lot of development has actually come to this particular sector of the economy. Talking about the trade, but after talking about the trade, we'll talk about the export and the import businesses and all of that. And when you look at Nigeria, in the last 1 year, especially in the area of export, a lot of things has actually happened, and the major things we export in Nigeria includes, the crude oil, agricultural products, machineries, agricultural products, and all of that. And again, the mineral resources that we have in this country in abundance. And if you look at it, there are a lot of things that happen. Especially if you look at the export. This year alone, from May 2023 to May 2024, from the statistics, we discovered that Nigeria, the value of export, and Nigeria has actually gained about $75 billion as against what we had in the previous years. That's a little change, and this change actually can be attributed to the increase in oil prices globally, and also talk about maybe the food and all of that. So there are a lot of things that happen. Though it comes a lot of challenges, naira devaluation has actually caused a lot of problems, in the trade sectors and all of that. So by and large, I know that there's a little improvement. The import value has also reduced in a way, because probably the refining exercises that's actually going on in Nigeria today, courtesy of Dangote and all of that. So this has actually bring down the cost of imports and all of that. And export revenue has also improved in a way, because the country is actually trying to encourage local production, and this has actually helped in giving quality agricultural products that the other countries of the world are actually in high demand for. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Michael. Yes. Okay, now still looking further at our trade, imports and exports. Nigeria employs a combination of tariffs and quotas for the dual purpose of revenue generation. Now, how can this for revenue generation, how can we use this to protect our local industries from highly competitive imports? As you know, we need to promote the growth of our local industries, what we produce here in Nigeria, so that we can improve on our, so that going forward, we could improve on the quality of goods that we export. So how can this protect our local industries in a highly competitive, with the kind of goods that we import?
Thank you very much. Previously you discovered that we import a lot of things in this country. Even as small, even food food products, agricultural products, we import many of them, rice and the rest. And the country is actually doing a lot of things now to see how they can encourage the local industry, the local farmers to go into agricultural production, though it comes with a lot of challenges, security challenges and all of that. We find in the northern part of the country today in Nigeria, even when you make the environment, when you make available funds for them, they still find it very, very difficult to produce because of security challenges around that area. And I'm sure that the country is doing a lot to solve these security challenges. And once that is done, I'm sure the local production will actually improve. Because just like you said, it is unwise. Most of our local industries are actually closing down, and this have adverse effect on the employment status of this country. So many of our youth are going out of jobs and all of that just because most of the local industry cannot longer produce. Why? Because the high rate of importation, and that's why the federal government has actually come up with policy to see how they ban certain importation of good items. Even FX, making FX available to some of these local some companies that do import. The policy is to discourage them from importation of some of these essential items, like especially the food items, and so that we can also encourage the local industry to produce more. And I'm sure that if the government, they have rolled out these policies, a lot of policies around this, and if we can painstakingly key to it, implementation and implement them, I'm sure our local industry will be at its apex in production, and that will discourage importation. Our export revenue will improve, and our expenses on importation will definitely reduce, and that will give us trade balance that will be surplus. Thank you.
Okay, yes, thank you for that, Mr. Michael. Yes, okay, now, do you recommend a free trade, that the government policy should be more of free trade, where there are no government restrictions, and we can have trade, for example, not just in Africa alone, but with other countries in the international community?
I will not, in my own opinion, that will not be fine, because how do we protect the local manufacturers? If we must protect local manufacturers that will give jobs to our people, then there must be a little of a restriction. You can imagine what the wonders we achieved in the production of rice in the recent time. We discovered that before now we depend solely on foreign rice and all of that. And when this restriction now came up, some time ago, most of the local industry came up with ideas, came up with initiatives, and when they produce refined this rice, sometimes you can hardly distinguish between the foreign one, the one they call the foreign rice, and the locally made one. So I that will definitely affect the production capacity or the potential. It should be there, and there should be a conducive environment for local industry to thrive. And if that is in place, I'm very, very optimistic and sure that this nation will grow again.
The reason I said this, Nigeria has signed the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. And, this free trade agreement requires member countries to be able to remove tariffs from over 90% of goods, allowing access to goods and services and commodities across African countries. So what are your thoughts on this? Because this is something that should actually promote free trade within this continent, Africa.
Yeah, I think one of the ideas behind that actually is to reduce maybe cost of exportations and all of that, so that at least some of the countries can actually improve on their FX reserve and all of that. So, but to me, especially a country like Nigeria that depends solely probably on the importation of agricultural products, to me, I cannot subscribe to that, because it will discourage us from giving out our best in our local productions, and that will definitely affect our foreign reserve. So to me, there should be a little of restrictions on things imported to this country. Thank you.
Okay. Now we also know that issues globally have also been affected our trade within Nigeria. For example, the Russia-Ukraine war. So now looking at this and the rising inflation also, how have this impacted trade volumes and commodity prices in Nigeria's trade volumes and commodity prices?
Yeah, thank you very much. The issue that is happening in Ukraine, sometimes we actually import grains, some agricultural products from Ukraine, fertilizer from Russia and the rest of them into the nation and all that. So, and then looking at the challenges that is happening now in Ukraine, that has actually affected so many problems. So affected us, in so many ways. Number one, that has actually dropped our food demand for food in this country, as in, because we have to that is we depend so we depend on them for some of this grain before now, and now with the challenges that we are facing today in Ukraine, it has affected the amount of grains that we import into the nation, and the little one we now have in this country, the only one we now have in the country has actually experienced price hike. We discovered that in 2023, the inflation rate is about 22%. But as we speak today, it's about 33.6%, which is abnormal. And that's why you see the prices of rice now that was 35,000 naira in 2023, now about 85,000. So the impact has actually caused a lot of inflation and food reduction in the country, and it's affecting us. Has to go into urgently into encouraging farmers to go into agricultural productions and providing the right equipment for them to refine everything that they produce, so that we can even have access to export at the end of the day.
Yes, I agree with you on that. So therefore, you're saying we need to improve, like you have been saying from the beginning, we need to improve on our local production. That will enable us to be able to combat all these issues and also protect our local industries more. Okay, so now that being said, yes, we know that we have businesses
and
in Nigeria that not just food business, but other. You were saying something?
Yes, and especially the issue of security is in the northern part of this country. Farmers now find it difficult to go to farm, even when they have the bandit, the fear of attack is actually affecting them. And I want to urge the federal government to step up. Though I know they are doing excellently well in combating insecurity in this nation, but we still want them to do more so that our farmers can be protected. They are willing and ready to do it, to work. Some of them are even taking loans from the banks to invest in farming, but in most cases, the security threats, the security challenges has affected them, and that is affecting our food productions. And some youths who went into farming, and some of them are withdrawing now because of these threats they are facing in the farm. So for the nation to maximize their capacity, we have to protect them and see how we can improve on our security architecture in the nation. Thank you.
So now, before we round up now, okay, yes, we know that these are the challenges that have been affecting our trade and commerce in Nigeria. So do you see any new opportunities or anything arising domestically or internationally to actually help combat these issues that are affecting us in this country in terms of trade and commerce?
There are other challenges that we actually face before. There are other challenges and all of that, especially making FX available. Just like you are saying, I was always dwelling on agriculture, for instance. We see other areas like mining. We have men be able to go into site and mine some of these products and all of that. And in most cases, because of this, unavailability or scarcity of FX is a serious challenge. And some of the policy of the federal government too, sometimes they have a very beautiful and fantastic policies, but in most cases they don't carry the stakeholders along. The stakeholders, the major players in this sector, they are not being carried along, and there is this policy mismatch at the end of the day. And in most cases, it creates phobia. Recently there was this. Let me say, when this government came on board, they removed subsidy on fuel and so other things, and that has a ripple effect. You see policy being made, So sometimes when there's a large outcry, there's a suspension and all of that, and this nation. So, and I want to urge the federal government that when policies are being made, they should carry the of the citizens should be carried along, so that at the end of the day, we must know the policy will have a positive impact. Sometimes it's a beautiful one, but sometimes it's not well tailored to the people concerned, and that is a serious challenge.
Okay, thank you so much, Michael Alao, for joining us this morning on Market Insights. It's been great having you on the program as we discuss Nigeria's trade and commerce sector over the past 1 year, and how it has the new administration has impacted on it, the journey so far. Now, just before we round up, can you just share your final thoughts on this, please?
Thank you very much again for having me, and I still want to encourage the government. We have just talked about the overview in the last 1 year in the area of trade. I still want to plead with the federal government. I know there are a lot of policies to make, but the implementation sometimes is a challenge. Corruption too, and also want the federal government to, as they make policy, should have in mind the stakeholders. And number two, during the implementation, they should block all the loopholes where corruption can actually set in that could affect, the intention of the policy they are trying to make. Will have a greater nation. They should, selfish interest should be going to make, and I'm sure if that is done, we'll have a greater nation. And just like I said, if our export position are before, I'm seeing a greater export business in the coming days. Just like the IMF said, IMF actually, an improvement
Michael
in our
Alao, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much.
Having you again on Market Insights.
This platform today.
Okay, so that being said, yes, Nigeria's trade and commerce is a story of resilience and adaptation. But, looking at the past year's developments, everything that has happened, businesses have been able to position themselves to still thrive in spite of all the issues in the economy. So, going forward, like our guests have said, from Onyinye Okonji, with the aid being provided by FinTech, and also how the government's policies should be more friendly to be able to accommodate businesses and also promote and protect our local industry so that they can also continue to thrive. Thank you so much for joining me this morning on Market Insight. Thank you for watching the program, and I look forward to discussing more issues affecting our economy on tomorrow's episode. Do stay tuned to the next program on Sook News Television. I am Lavina Emma.